We've just come back from Yorkshire where we were discussing a whole range of matters in Chief Constables Council, and I want to talk about three of them. The first is we talked about some of the most serious threats where we really need to come together as police forces to deal with child abuse, to deal with the potential for terrorism, and also to deal with cybercrime. On child abuse, we agreed an action plan which all forces agreed to abide by, which makes sure that whether we're trying to prevent child abuse, pursue it, protect children, or prepare ourselves with other agencies, we've got the best possible response. We also talked about protecting children online and the way in which we need to focus our investigations and make sure that we're following all the intelligence leads, again to ensure that we can protect children. We also talked about the potential for a firearms attack, where we have many gunmen raging across the city in the way that happened in Paris last November. And we've been talking about the plans to increase the number of firearms officers in this country. As you know, the British police are routinely unarmed, and that's something we really treasure. But we do need to have more armed officers, and we've been working out exactly how many and where they should be posted. Of course, we rely on all our officers who carry a firearm to volunteer to do so. And so part of the discussion was how can we as chief officers give them that reassurance that if they do the right thing to protect the public, then they will be supported. The third area we talked about in conjunction with the National Crime Agency was cybercrime. And there again, the threat is international. We have often a victim in one country, an offender in another, and maybe the technological infrastructure in yet another country. So it's really important that we work together with the City of London Police, with the National Crime Agency, to making sure we do as much as we can to protect the public, but also bring offenders to justice. We also had some fire chiefs with us, which was great, and we discussed the proposals which are currently in the bill before Parliament, which are about looking at how we might work more closely. The proposal is that there will be a duty to collaborate both with the fire service and the ambulance service. We're beginning a conversation about what that might mean for our colleagues, how we can work together better to make sure that we have complementary activity and that we locally we ensure that we're working together to protect the public and save life where necessary. Lastly, we talked about digital policing. There's so much going on about technology at the moment. Policing is no different from the rest of our lives. And we were talking about the big Home Office programmes, the new radio programme, which is known as the ESN, the Emergency Services Network, and its ability not just to carry voice, but also to carry data. We talked about the new biometrics platform, where fingerprints and images will all be stored, and what potential that gives us to be much more efficient at using cutting-edge forensic science to solve crimes. And we also talked about the data programme, which will eventually see the Police National Computer replaced. These are really important programmes, and what's absolutely essential is that chiefs understand what is proposed and how they can work locally to make the most of this technology to make sure that the forces are as effective as possible. Lastly, we had, I think for the first time, the Director of the FBI came and spoke to us. And he particularly talked about the challenges that all of us face in law enforcement in terms of encryption. And he talked about some of the cases that they've been dealing with in the United States. And we had a really good discussion. And as ever, when we talk to Americans, there is so much that's different about our two countries, but there's so much that's in common. And it was really good to have that conversation, talk about the work we already do with the FBI, but the work we could do with them in the future.